How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Michael Thurville, photojournalist and sociologist here at VEDA World News. We have a returning guest today, political candidate. Please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Barbara Denson, and I'm running for the Texas State Board of Education, District 6.
Okay, so what's going on new?
The new stuff. I know I'm campaigning, and I should be spending all my time campaigning. And you would think I'm a big talker because I'm running for office and campaigning, but the truth is by nature, I just tend to kind of do what you do, ask a lot of questions and listen to people.
Okay.
And so I've been talking to parents, teachers, people in the education industry, and just trying to better understand why Texas is ranked so poorly compared to other states, and what are we doing wrong, what do we have that we're improving, and how we compare to some other states.
Understood. And then per our conversation last time you were here, you spoke very candidly about how the students are memorizing and not actually learning. And I saw more of that as time progressed from other people outside of yourself. Did you want to speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's one of the issues. So what you're talking about, they call it whole language or 3Qing.
Yes.
And that's how we have been teaching kids for a while now to read, and it's actually the way really poor readers read. So we quit teaching them phonics, which is what we used to use, which is what a good reader does, and we started teaching this. And then the Texas legislature passed actually a good law saying you can't do it anymore. It's against the law.
Okay.
So teachers are still doing it.
Are they still doing it here in Texas?
They're still doing it in Texas, even though it's against the law, because we didn't train them how to do anything else. So they don't know how.
Would it be fair to say that we need a whole system overhaul?
In talking to people, we can't afford to take everyone out of school and put them all back in school again. It would be ridiculous, and time-wise, money-wise, whatever, we can't. So in talking to all these people, it sounds like what the solution is we need teacher coaches that while they're in school, they go in while they're teaching, and they work with them and they coach them on what to do. So they're going to learn how to do it. And the other thing, once you have a teacher coach, it also greatly increases your chances of that teacher retention. They'll much more likely to stay on for 3 years or more if they have had a coach helping them. And that's the first part of it. But then after that, there needs to be some follow through. You can't just teach it once, come in one time, teach it, and go away. You need to follow up on every now and then, keep at it until it becomes like a routine and they've got it down. And then we need to also listen to them, get feedback, and learn from it.
Well, you touched on teacher retention. That is something that is very hard to grapple right here in Harris County. Teachers are leaving schools. So I'm wondering, how do you propose finding a solution for that? If we can't keep mainline teachers, how are we going to keep the coaches?
So I am all about looking at the data and looking for what's working in other places, and that's why I started to tell you off camera earlier that you are really, your new studio here, which is really cool, is not too far from a place called VEDA Academy. And I don't remember if I told you about them before, but it is a charter school that's in this area that is doing amazing things.
What are they doing?
The woman that runs it, Letitia, hated school growing up. Hated it.
I know quite a few people that hated school.
Well, to her credit, she knew she needed to learn, and she wanted kids to learn, and so she looked at everything that she hated about school growing up, and she changed it. And you just ought to go. You ought to interview her sometime.
I would love to have
go to her school if you could. I've never seen anything like it. She has got the kids have all these fun, energetic little slogans and little routines that they do, and it's teaching them to work together as a team to answer a question. It gets them to confront somebody else if they disagree with them in a positive, respectful way.
Okay.
It gets them, when they get excited about something, they stand up on their chairs and they get their hands up in the air. They get physically involved in it.
So it's very immersive.
Very.
Okay.
Very. It's they're not just sitting at their desks writing. They're like, their whole body is into it in every way, and they've got all these snappy little cute things they say and do, and the teachers do, and it's positive and it's uplifting. Oh, and the teacher retention. First, those teachers are having a blast because they're enjoying the kids. It's a happy place to be. Happy, energetic. It's hard to describe. I've never seen anything like it before. One of the things I noticed was that they have a great teacher retention rate, and she makes a big deal about her teachers, and she has like on a wall where she has big, beautiful framed photos that are professionally done of the teachers that have stayed there for, I think, 5 years or something. And it's not, I'm sure they're not staying just to have their picture in the hallway. It's just one little example.
Right.
And what I will do is just keep researching places and copy what they do. I don't want to think up something brand new. I think that'll help us retain teachers. I want to see what's working.
With a proven track record.
Yeah, there are some states doing amazing, amazing work right now. Louisiana and Mississippi have gone from the very bottom ranks straight to the top.
Now, I've read a little bit about Mississippi and how they have had some challenges in the education sector. With them boosting their rankings, what are they doing that is different from Texas?
So when I first heard this, I thought, well, they stuck with phonics. So they were in the bottom group. They stuck with phonics. Everybody else started doing all this other stuff, and I thought, well, they just rose to the top because everybody else got so bad. And there is something to be said for that. This is true. But they've done more than that. We have been lowering our standards.
Why?
Because they want more kids to pass.
To
as
what
if
end?
That's the goal, instead of trying to get the kids educated. Mississippi has been raising their standards. So you keep raising the bar, the kids want to meet it, and they did.
I would venture to say that we understand the long-term implications of social passing, but I'm very curious as to the motivation why they would embark on such a measure here in Texas and elsewhere in this country. Why social pass? Are parents complaining?
It doesn't make sense to me that because you want to be able to say your kid has graduated and they can't read and they can't write, it means nothing then. So it should mean something to have your degree, and you should know
And speaking of degree, the Trump administration just recently stated that they were going to start defunding a lot of degrees that a lot of colleges and universities offer. What they're saying is, in a nutshell, is that the degree is an investment. And if you're graduating with a degree, but yet you're making the same amount of money as someone in high school, they will not fund that degree. What are your thoughts and reactions on that?
I did not know about that.
Okay.
I do know, though, that we have just thrown so much money at these universities, and they're sitting on just tons and tons of money, and it's our tax dollars going to a lot of these, and then the price of them just keeps skyrocketing.
Rising every year.
I am a big believer in letting capitalism reign, and I'm extremely limited government. So as a general rule, I like to not see government money picking and choosing which colleges are going to be the winners, which colleges are going to be the losers. I actually went to one of the very few colleges in the country that refused to take federal dollars. Grove City College. My first 2 years I went there because they didn't want to accept government control over what they taught.
Now, that particular college, your college that you went to, did not take governmental funds. How did they fund themselves? How did that work out?
It was actually an extremely inexpensive school to attend, and it was a solid education. It can be done. They just it was a place that believes in limited government, which is probably why I believe in limited government.
I remember you saying that before.
And they make it work, so it can be done. Once the government starts putting their hands on things,
costs go up.
Yeah, because you have to do all kinds of stuff, and they can just educate the kids.
I mean, back I had this conversation with someone who was much older than me. They said, I could work the summer and pay off my college tuition. That particular college in which you graduated from, would that be the case?
Oh, that's what I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Although I worked, like on the weekends, I was a cocktail waitress also to get
Really?
through. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, some people are $100,000 in debt, $138,000 in student loans when they graduate and cannot find a job that is willing to pay them what they're, not only what they're worth, but what they have to pay back as an investment into college. If you were put into office, how would you fix that? Or is that beyond your lane?
No, it should be we should have financial planning in our curriculum. And that is part of what the state board does, is decide what kids are taught. And I think that has been put in there. And I think they're starting to do that because kids, it's just part of life. You need to understand finances and how it works and think through, how am I going to pay this back? It's all on you. It's not up to the government to decide, but let's make sure you're educated enough to be able to understand before you start, cranking up your credit card debt or like whatever.
Yes.
Understand how interest works and what you're getting into, and I know that there are some very good things already in our curriculum because I've seen some of the books that are out there. Someone that I know wrote one, Connect Your Career by Julie Johnny was one of the people that wrote it, and when I saw her book, I was like, I wish I'd had this when I was in high school. Like, it's just really how to plan your whole career.
That's
and
really
think
good.
Through everything. It's all the stuff you wish you had a parent to tell you. Like, my sister and I were the first two in our family to go to college, and the whole thing was so mystifying to me, like the whole idea, what does a sorority really mean, and what does it mean to be in a dorm? No, I never did it. I didn't have the money to do it, even if I wanted to back then.
They're asking for $1,500?
Oh,
at least when I was in college, that's what it was. It was $1,500 in order to quote unquote pledge.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I didn't have extra money for anything when I was in college. But I just, as a matter of fact, that's how I chose the college that I did go to. I had gone there for cross country camp, and like I said, it all was so. I didn't understand the world I was walking into, but I went to Grove City because I went there for cross country camp. I knew where the dorms were, I knew where the cafeteria was, and I could envision living here, going here, and I couldn't afford a car, so I had to figure out how I was going to make it all work, and that worked, so I did it. Here's
a question: outside of STEM fields, is going to a college or a university worth it in 2026?
Well, I mean, we still need doctors and lawyers, and I guess doctor would fall into the STEM category, I guess.
Because the Trump administration just told nurses, hey, you're not a professional anymore, we're not paying for that.
Really?
They're not paying for nursing degrees anymore.
I didn't know that the government paid for
through loans and student loans and Pell Grants and different things like that. They're not paying for it.
I never got any money from the government, so I have, and this isn't for what it's worth, this isn't something the State Board of Education deals with, but I never did, and my kids never did. Like I said, I worked and paid my way through. I had a family that just didn't believe in taking any government anything, so we just never did.
As a journalist, I look at that. You guys took the right route. You didn't borrow against a stone. You paid your dues. I think it was great. But again, I look at today, 2010, 2016, 2026. People just don't have it like that anymore. And,
Yeah.
and they went from a educational model to now a business-based model where, you know, one class over at, like, my brother paid $30,000. That was a semester.
Yeah. It's gotten a lot more expensive. Well, part of this, I think it was from that No Child Left Behind thing where they started
Did that work
pushing.
out?
It was horrible. That's what pushed all the kids, like everybody has to have a college degree, and everybody doesn't have to have a college degree. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things that I really want to work on if I get on the state board, is the whole CTE vocational training.
Okay.
Massachusetts has got it down, like they're figuring it out. I'm
Really?
embarrassed to say, because I don't, in general, approve of what Massachusetts does. But
Okay.
they have got this down, and what they do is they get like committees that are looking at like the ultimate goal, if you want to be a veterinarian or you want to be a plumber or whatever, and they start in their vocational training. You can go and you start, you know, doing some veterinary work or whatever it is, you start learning it while you're in high school, and they make it a real clean, easy path to go straight into it. Here in Texas, it's a little bit different. We have got all these really cool industries that are all excited about coming to Texas because we're business friendly and it's great. And then they get here and find out we don't have a workforce that's trained to meet their needs.
It's true.
And so what I want to do is I want to get us in communication with those industries as soon as we know they're coming. Because it takes a while. They don't just show up here within a few months anyways, right? They've got to get their places built. They've got to, you know, a whole lot of stuff
administration.
to do. So let's use that time, let's plan it, and let's start training the kids. SpaceX is coming. Like, let's go, here's what they're going to need, and let's start working with these high school kids so that by the time the industry is here and they're ready to go, we've got kids that are trained and are ready to go into their system. Similarly, for those that need to go through the college path, but they know that they want to go into something too, let's start right there in high school for those that know that, and everyone doesn't always know when they're in high school what they want to do. But if you know, then let's start then putting you on that path to where you're getting the training in place so it's a nice smooth transition into college and ultimately to that job that you really want to get.
Are you getting any pushback from parents saying, hey, my child should be free to decide what they want to do with their life? Are you getting pushback? And what is your reaction to that?
Actually, there is something, the gentleman that is currently on the State Board of Education in the district that I'm in is Will Hickman, and he's endorsing me, by the way.
Great.
Yes, and his focus was something he called his flight plan, and what that is it's to help kids figure out what interests them, and he's got this whole program in place that kids go through to help them try and figure out what suits their interests.
Here's a question: as an engineer, and as someone who obviously went to college, do you think that it is appropriate for parents to tell students or their children, this is what you're going to do, versus allowing them to kind of figure it out themselves?
Yeah, I had parents that absolutely allowed us to do it.
Okay.
I can't imagine how hard that would be if you had a parent that thought that, you know, my son has to be a doctor, or you know, I had an aunt that all she wanted was one of hers to become a priest. Like,
really?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their thing, and I'm fortunate. My dad said when I was a kid, he said, "You can be whatever you want to be. You can be a ditch digger. If you want to dig ditches, you do it. You just be the best ditch digger there ever was."
I don't know, because some parents, and I've seen this, especially in Caribbean households, you can either be a doctor or an attorney, something like that, engineer. Anything else is trash. Being honest with you. They don't really see any other jobs as necessarily prestigious or viable coming from those particular households. In a lot of African households, and when I say African, not Black Americans, we're talking Africans that come from Africa. Same thing. Doctors, attorneys, you know, different things like that, even nursing to a large degree. Engineers, they don't see anything else past that. As an educator, why do you think that is?
Cultural.
Okay.
I mean, there's a whole lot that's, it's what you grow up with, what you hear from your parents. It's not the government responsibility to change your culture.
Okay.
I think that, there's pluses and minuses to that sort of thing for a kid that, that's in their heart, that's what they really want to do. That's great. I would like to encourage, and I think that's what Will's plan does, is helps every kid see that there is a pathway and I can be successful in this. Then it's up to them to argue with their parents. They can work it through if they want it bad enough on their own without the support of their parents, I guess, but that would be hard.
And how do we get students more into the STEM field? I mean, obviously we start early, right? But how do we maintain that in a culture and in a place where it's cooler to be an Instagram not follower, but the content creator or YouTube? Yeah. How do we compete with that?
I don't know. I feel like STEM careers now are much more cool than they were when I was a girl. I mean, people looked at me like,
really?
Well, yeah, not so much. So I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I was absolutely encouraged to be an engineer. I probably, on my own, I would have either gone into physics or philosophy.
Really?
Because that was where my interest was, or architecture. Because I love art, and I would have loved something like that. But at the time, it was a new thing for a woman to be an engineer, and because I had really good grades in math and science, I kind of got pushed to become an engineer because they were so excited that there was a girl getting these great grades.
Really?
Yeah. So I didn't really. Yeah, I didn't do it because.
So you were like at the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then when I moved, my first job was in Louisiana, and people just didn't believe I was an engineer. In Louisiana, it just was, back then, it wasn't a thing. And I had to say, no, I'm not the landman. I am the engineer, and here's what you need to do. It was kind of...
Here's a question. Mathematics. Is there a better way to teach students mathematics, algebra, calculus, than what we currently do now?
Yeah, they quit teaching the times tables also.
Wait, they did what?
Yeah, because this is what I have been told by many people, so at least in some places they are not teaching them, that it's boring. And why do they need it? They can use a calculator.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'm
saying we need to go back, they call it numeracy. We need literacy and numeracy. They need to know their times tables. These numbers, So there's
I cannot wrap my mind around that.
There's people they can't make change. I've
seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that in the younger generation. You go to the store and without the cash register, they're lost.
They can't read, they can't do basic math. Did I tell you this before, that they quit teaching cursive? Did you know that?
Yes, we talked about previously, but even the functionality of writing in cursive requires your brain to kind of be wired in such a way.
Right, which is why, and not doing that is one of the reasons we get so much dyslexia now, is because we quit teaching that.
Really?
So I am saying...
Is that a direct correlation or causality?
I don't know. Just because there's correlation always doesn't mean that's true. I don't know, but I have been talking to a lot of educators that are that have their degree in reading science, and this is where I heard this from. So I can't claim to be the expert and describe all of it. I'm just saying this is what I'm hearing. Like I said, I've been talking to a lot of educators as I hear these things.
Wow. So, what are some of the trends coming up in the next 3 years in terms of education?
Well, if I get on that board, we're going to make sure that, one thing, we need to make sure that the STEM classes get updated more regularly. Right now, they take all the subjects. There's art, math, reading, science. Everything gets updated every 8 years.
Technology changes every, 5 months?
And they're updating it every 8 years. So one of the main things that I'm saying, if I get on that board, I am going, I get along with people. I don't slam my hand on them and say, you got to do this.
It makes you a better person than me.
I am going to do my best to get some consensus on the board that we have got to try to get science updated.
Now, why 8 years? Why not 5 or even 3?
So the whole system that they do in reviewing these things just started a couple of years ago. So to be fair, it's still it's evolving.
Okay.
And I think they were looking at it that all subjects need to be created equally, I guess. To me, the goal isn't treat all subjects equally. The goal is let's get our kids educated the best we can and for the careers that they're ultimately going to have.
Gotcha.
And to me, that means science needs to be updated really frequently, as much as we can physically make it happen. And I don't know if that's every year, every 2 years, but this is like light years apart. Just
Wow.
8 years.
I didn't know that.
When I was in high school 50 years ago, in physics class,
Okay.
I learned quantum mechanics. By the time I was in college, it had evolved and there was string theory now. Like
Yes.
this was, you know, it was changing, and that seemed pretty fast. Now, it's changing so fast. It's ridiculous, and the whole idea that we would have somebody learning something that was from 8 years ago is just insane to
Wow.
me. So that, and similarly with the vocational training, the CTE, that also has to be updated on a regular basis.
If elected and put into office, are there any departments that fall, or personnel or positions that fall under your command that you would eliminate?
There really isn't anybody. I think they have a handful of people that are just assistants for that everybody, the 15 share. So there's no, yeah. What there is though is the TEA, which is a separate organization, which is gigantic.
What are your thoughts on the TEA? For those that are listening, if you don't know what the TEA is, it is the Texas Educational Association? Teachers,
yes, yeah.
Teachers,
Well,
how do you say it? Teachers Educational?
Teaching Association. I guess it's associate. I'm not
I'm
sure.
guessing
Administration.
too.
It is an administration. That's what it is. Because they administer everything. So that's what it is.
There
Sorry.
we go.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on, I mean, how would you deal with that?
I would think that once I get on the board, I will be able to be in conversations with these people and hopefully try and, it's huge. That's where all the money is spent in there. We don't have any direct, they're two separate entities, so we don't have any, they don't have to listen to us or anything, but I would like to think they might talk to us, communicate. I won't be so much a little gnat that's complaining about things.
I mean, when people look at education, they don't dice it up into, oh, that's the TA or this is the state board. They just see education. A lot of parents see that and they say, hey, if you guys are teaching our students or our children, shouldn't you guys be working together?
Yeah, and they do kind of. First, the other thing, when you look at all these, the other thing I want to clarify too is a lot of people think this State Board of Education is here and the school boards report to them, and there's nothing there, just to be clear.
Really?
That's very separate too. The school boards are the ones that deal with all of the, the hiring, the firing, and they can actually, they're the ones that ultimately choose what books they want. We just approve them, and then if they want to use some of the books that we have approved, then they get government funding towards it, but they can get whatever books they want. So they're their own entity. They make their mind up totally on what they want.
Understood.
So no, they don't have to report to anybody. What I wanted to get back to about the TEA though is that I think that there is a huge problem with transparency with what goes on there. I found out as I gave a presentation in November, and there were some books that I had issues with, and I went with a reviewer who flagged 24 issues in the books, and she refused to take down those flags. She had started with 30. She was in communication with the publishers, and they took down 6 of them. And so we presented this and said, you shouldn't approve these books. Here's all the problems with the books. And then there was a group that came up and raved about how great the books were. And then a gentleman with the TEA came in and he presented the books for the board to vote on. And he said nobody had any flags. None of the reviewers had flags. Everyone gave it excellent reviews. And the reviewer I was with said they wouldn't even let me submit a review. They made it so she couldn't put one out there. And he was lying. Like, clearly, she had all these flags. I couldn't understand how the state board didn't realize that, because the way they get the reviewers is each of those state board members chooses the reviewers that are going to review on their, they get to choose them, and then everyone's reviews get together. I would want all of my reviewers to be in touch with me. And if one of them had 24 flags, I would want to know that information, and I would want to know it before I get in the meeting and have to make a decision, because if you find out about it in advance, you can get it corrected or changed, and so you can approve it and you feel good about it. And also, you would know if the person said there were no flags, you would know of course there were, because I know I had reviewers telling me they had flags.
Right.
So this one reviewer happened to show up and say she had flags, but what about all the other reviewers that didn't come? How many of them had flags and didn't drive to Austin to be there to present and weren't in communication with their state board member? So I asked about this and I said, why aren't you communicating with them? They said, well, we made a rule that you can't.
Why?
Because what I was told is that it wouldn't be fair to all the state board members, because everybody doesn't have time to follow up with their reviewers, so only the ones with the time would have input into the books. So this is an unpaid position. Yes, I'm putting all this time, money, effort into an unpaid position. A lot of the people that are on the board have other jobs. They don't have time to do it. So only the handful that have the time get to influence. To me,
but
we should only have people that can put the time in. Why would you take the job if you don't have the time to do it?
And those decisions that are made affects millions of students all across the state of Texas.
Right. So and the gentleman that is on the board right now that is endorsing me worked to try and make it a paid position so that we could have people actually devote the time to it, and the legislature, whatever, decided not to do it, and that's why he's not continuing, because he still has to raise his family and all this, and he actually puts a whole lot of work into this, and he can't just keep devoting that much time. I think he's done it for 8 years, and he can't just keep doing that without any income for it. So, yeah, it's a huge issue, and I would work to make it much more transparent, and I would work to make sure I need to be able to talk to those reviewers. The other issue I'm hearing, I called one of the other board members and said, why did you approve these books? It had all this stuff in it. And they told me, oh, I asked them to change things, and they did. Well, why did we not have that information? And I heard from others that sometimes they say they're going to change things, but it doesn't really change it to the point that you think it did, and you don't see the final thing. So we're not all seeing the same stuff.
Gotcha.
And they're saying I've changed it, but you don't really see the final copy of it. I would want to see finalized ones we all feel good about and we all agree on. All of this behind the scenes, no.
So it's a lot of behind the scenes politics, backdoor politics in some aspects. That's what I'm getting from you when I'm speaking with you about the subject.
Yeah.
How would you solve that in your position? How would you address that?
Well, I would say we need to be able to speak with them. The other thing, when one of the reviewers that was there that loved the books said, well, we were never allowed to tell anybody what books we were reviewing, and that it's against, I think she said, chapter 67 is what the TEA person came out and said, yeah, that's chapter 67. You're not allowed to do that. We looked it up. It's not in chapter 67. Because the reviewer I was with said, they never told me I couldn't.
Really?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of funny business going on. So we need to shine some daylight on all this.
I think so. I think a lot of parents and just people in general, voters, could concur on that. Let's talk about this passion. Where does it come from for you? This passion for education, this passion to run for this particular office position?
It started out when I found out that they were teaching kids in climate science what to think, not how to think.
Okay.
So I was giving talks on the climate science issues for years, and then when I found out they were teaching it, I disagreed with the theory they were putting in the books. So what they teach is that basically everything you do is causing the climate to change and it's going to destroy the planet. And I disagree with that. But it's fine. You can have a theory, and I can disagree with it. And and the way it should be is, if there's a theory that's very prominent and a lot of people believe it, put it in the book, put in the competing theory, and then put in the data. And then kids use their critical thinking skills and say, all right, here, look at the climate data. Interesting. The climate has had temperatures go like this for millions of years. Right now, it's going like this. Is that being caused because we're using oil and gas? Use your brain. Does that make sense? And when they talk about carbon dioxide levels, here's a chart. This shows what carbon dioxide levels have done over the years.
Okay.
Look at these two theories. Which one matches the data? And then you can decide for yourself which one you believe in.
So I don't know. I think that a lot of people would look at that position and say, how does that prepare students for standardized testing?
Well, it teaches them how to think. And that's what we really want.
Okay.
We want kids to use their brains, analyze data. We get in a lot of trouble when people believe everything they read.
This is true.
And don't reason it out and think about, does that make sense? Is our goal to have kids pass tests or to have kids that are smart?
Okay, well, let's talk about that. I mean, I think it's a very relevant question. Studying for the test, studying for standardized testing, does it necessarily mean, well, of course we know it doesn't mean that this child or the student is the brightest. It doesn't mean that. But for national purposes, doesn't it kind of give the people in charge some kind of measurement of where they are?
And you need that, absolutely. Okay. The thing is, though, when you talk about smart kids, everyone's smart in different ways.
Understood.
So there are those who are smart, they can memorize all this data. There's a place for people that are good with that. If you're going to do organic chemistry, let's say, you can be someone who's so good you can memorize every reaction in organic chemistry, or you could be somebody who understands the mechanisms and how all the atoms connect, and you can learn your organic chemistry that way.
Understood.
Both are smart people, but
just in different applications.
Then there are some people who are so well spoken, that is their true strength. They're going to shine in maybe some more of the writing areas or something. There's going to be other people that have the creative thought. Everyone has different things. So a standardized test is just going to show you the areas in which you're good.
Okay. If you were able to give 3 tips to parents to help their children propel or succeed in the STEM fields, what would it be?
I think the first thing has to be find where their passion is, because if they're not enjoying it, find something that's the driver to get them there.
Okay.
And it could just be, it's frequently somebody, I'm going to say, for me, as somebody that had very little money growing up, I was like, where are the jobs? And because I, just by nature, the whole idea of being involved, say, in something legal, I just knew, for me, I don't enjoy arguing, and I couldn't get out of bed in the morning if that was what I needed to do for a living, and the medical field, I think I'd pass out when I'd see blood or needles and such. So I just knew right off the bat, for me, those were out of the question. And as it was, so that was, the architecture would have been probably what I could have done, or I ended up doing the environmental part. I actually was interested even as a kid in, this was when all the environmental stuff all started, and I do care a lot about, clean air, clean water.
What was the spark that made you say, hey, you know what, this is what I want? I want to be this type of engineer? I know you just said it, but what do you think that it comes from?
Well, I actually, I probably woulda, coulda, shoulda in an ideal world thought I would have been maybe an architect, because I loved the creative aspect of things so much. And then everyone kept pushing me to be an engineer, and then there was this thing called architectural engineering. But then it was hard to find a place that had that, and I ended up being a civil engineer because that was like the next best thing, which has nothing creative really in it. And then I got hired as a petroleum engineer because, I don't think I told you this story. Back when I was being recruited, and at the time, so I'm magna cum laude, and a girl, I had job offers. Anybody that interviewed me wanted me to go to work for them. But I went down to the recruiting office and just to look for something else, trying to get more interviews, and they had a big bulletin board posted where they showed everybody that was signed up for what time with interviews with what company, and I just hand wrote my name in for an interview with Amoco, which was an oil company that isn't around anymore.
I remember Amoco.
And I showed up for the interview, and they hired me.
Really?
Yeah. And
oh my God.
And it was pretty funny at the time. Like I said, I didn't have much money, and I was getting all these offers that it was crazy to me, the idea of what they were talking about paying us. And some of the ones that were offering me the absolute most, I didn't trust them. I saw little things that I didn't like about the way the company was run or whatever, but you know how we got information back before the internet was like, my roommate knew somebody that said that Amoco had a great training program. So that was why I went there, was that, plus they offered me the exact average amount that civil engineers nationally were making right then, and that seemed fair. I just kind of liked their attitude, if you will, and I didn't know the difference between all these other numbers. It was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy talk. But the funny thing was that then petroleum engineers started out way higher, and after I was there for a year, they couldn't have somebody that had a year's worth of training making less than the people coming in, so then they had to give me a big bump up to get ahead of the newbies. So it turned out it was a good thing.
Let's backtrack, because you gave that first piece of advice for parents to get their students to propel into the STEM field. What would be the second piece of advice?
Just to give them a space to work. It's important that they have the quiet space, they get the support, and then the third would be just the encouragement to do it too, because in a positive way, give them. There were times in my life when I was in school where I didn't have that, and it was very very hard to try and find. I studied in a closet with a flashlight. Really? Yeah. So,
just to escape the noise.
Yeah.
Wow. And what was the third piece of advice?
I thought that was the third. Was the encouragement was my third one. So it was to give them the space, and then give them because everyone's going to hit times where it feels impossible. Right? Like even right now with my campaign, there are days, the last few days have been great because I've had all these endorsements coming in.
That's great.
And just meeting people that are reaching out to me saying, I heard what you're doing, I'm on board, how can I help? Last few days have been great. But then there's other times when there's people that are, blasting lies about me, and that's hurtful and mean, and that makes.
Why would anybody, I don't understand that. If you don't want to vote for someone, that's fine. But to go out there and to create social chaos, political chaos, is beyond me.
Yes, I will say I don't do that, and I don't like when other people do it. I personally don't want to ever vote for someone that I see do. I see it happening to other candidates as well, one that's firing away at the other. I don't like people that do that. So
I think a lot of people would side with you as far as that's concerned, the mudslinging and different things like that. I think that is highly inappropriate in today's environment. What should people know about you as a candidate? Why should people vote for you?
Because I am focused on only one thing. I have no hidden agenda. I just want to see kids in Texas excelling. And I can see the problems that we have right now, and I see some solutions. And I'm really the only STEM advocate that's running that I have found across the state. So if I don't get on this state board, we're not going to have a STEM advocate on the board.
And that is so crazy, given the fact that technology runs everything we do today. There was someone by the name of Scott Ritter. I don't know if you know who that person is or not. He was just debanked. And he talked about how isolated he felt when he could not get his money. And the same thing with technology. When we get isolated from technology, how people feel when they can't get on Instagram, if they can't get on Facebook, if they can't use their tap to pay. You know what I mean? So technology is so entwined with us, no matter if it's engineering or anything else that's part of the STEM field. Why aren't any other candidates besides yourself pushing for STEM?
I don't understand. And we have some that have some kind of degree that might, you could say they could be, but they're not pushing this STEM agenda. I think someone has like an agricultural engineering degree or something.
Okay.
So, but for some reason, the trend has been, we have got a lot of them that are pastors or the wife of a pastor, and we have got educators. And I understand the educators being in there, and the truth is, when you have a team, and I look at this as a team, it's good to have people with different strengths. So it's great, one more educator, it's a group think then, because they're all trained and they see everything the same thing.
From that lens.
So that's why I like the idea of, and I would love it if somebody else would get on. I haven't found anyone else that is, but I would love to see someone else that that would be their focus as well. To be fair, Will, who if I get elected, would be taking his place, has, I believe, an engineering degree first and then a law degree, but his focus has been on that, the flight plan, figuring out the career path, as I talked about. So you can't do everything. So that was the piece that he brought to it, which is very valuable. I would like to also continue that and make sure that keeps going. But I absolutely would be the one that's pushing to make science better.
Understood. And where can people find you?
Barbara Denson, the number 4, Texas.com.
Tell them.
Numerical. Okay, Barbara Denson, the numerical number 4, Texas.com.
Okay.
Thank you.
Instagram?
I'm on, you can go, if you go to my website, it's got links there, and you can go straight to my Facebook, my Twitter, and my Instagram through there. So some of my things, it says BB Denson because that's what on some of those things, that's where you literally go to, because I did some books and things beforehand under the name BB Denson, but yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure, and again, understand, we don't tell you who to vote for, but if you're gonna vote, make sure you check out Miss Barbara Denson. She's right here, great candidate, puts education first along with STEM. So if you're a young lady or aspiring young lady in college and you're looking for a direction, please reach out to Miss Barbara Denson. She'll put you on that STEM track.
Absolutely.
My name is Michael Thurville, photojournalist and sociologist here at VEDA World News. We'll see you on the next segment.